Never was a video game less aptly titled than Best of the Best. Let me tell you something, this game is pretty fucking far from the best. In fact, I think it's the worst fighting game I've played in a good long while. So anyway, let's get into it. Best of the Best, Championship Karate for the NES. To my surprise, this game started off on a good note, at least in terms of the graphics. For example, this character select screen looks solid. I mean, I never saw the film and this guy on the left doesn't look like Eric Roberts, but it's still pretty detailed. Even the woman in between rounds looks pretty good. Once you get to the actual match though, the graphics take a nosedive right into the shitter! Holy Christ, do these fucking graphics suck! The character models are so bland and poorly detailed that they look like half-formed replicants. And the colors ain't much better. Shit brown for your fighter and eggplant purple for your opponent. Gee, how nice. Couldn't they have added just a little bit more detail to the characters? I swear, it looks like their fucking skin is melting off. What, did they look inside the Ark of the Covenant before they began the match? Oh, and don't give me shit that they couldn't have done a better job. Super Mario Bros. 3 came out in 1988, and the graphics in that game look 100 times better than this one. Even worse, though, is this background. Are they fighting in another dimension or something? And is that supposed to be an audience in the background? Because it doesn't remotely resemble people. Instead, it looks like cosmic dandruff floating in the ether. I guess it's supposed to be people, but if they couldn't have done it well, then they shouldn't have done it at all. And then you get these people in the foreground, or should I say the purple heads of these people in the foreground. Oh, and Dick Tracy decided to put in an appearance. How nice of him. About the only detail I do like is that the lights represent your life meter. That's a nice touch. Alright, look, I'm willing to give the graphics a pass. Yeah, they look like shit, but graphics aren't everything. Hell, Cliffhanger for the NES has terrible graphics, and I still like that game. Control and gameplay are where any game really lives or dies. And this game has some of the worst controls I've ever seen in any game ever! It is insane how bad these controls are! They literally wrecked the fucking game! Okay, let me explain. You take control of your fighter. Or rather, you try to take control of your fighter. But he moves so stiffly, it's like he's weighed down with medieval armor and sandbags. Imagine your fighter is a 90-year-old with rheumatoid arthritis, and you'll get the idea of how tough it is to move him. You try to move back and he shuffles along so slowly! And sometimes the dumbass will walk right past his opponent and end up facing in the wrong direction. For Christ's sakes, turn around, you fucking fart bag! I'll be collecting Social Security by the time you get your ass in gear. And as if that isn't enough, the fighting controls are even worse than the directional ones. I hesitate to even use the word control since you have so little of it. Now, if this game were normal and good, you could press A to punch and B to kick, or vice versa. But of course that would be too simple and straightforward for a game like this. To punch or kick, you have to press the A or B button in a particular direction. Now in theory this sounds nice, but in practice it's a fucking pain in the ass. For example, to do a leg sweep, you press forward and A or B? Why not down and A or B? Wouldn't that make more sense? But sometimes down in A or B does a jab for some reason. Oh, and up in A or B does a side kick. Yeah, like that makes a lot of sense. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with these controls. I don't understand why they had to make this so needlessly complicated. Keep it simple. One button for punch and one button for kick. Up plus a button equals a high attack, forward plus a button equals a mid attack, and down plus a button equals a low attack. But they couldn't do that. You're marketing this game to kids, and you goddamn near need a fucking PhD to figure out these controls! Plus, the delay in some of these moves is ridiculous! You perform the action, and 20 years later, he does the move. I thought these fighters were supposed to have lightning-fast reflexes, not move like they got muscular dystrophy! Also, I swear these controls have a mind of their own. I played this game for hours, folks. Hours, and I still don't understand them. Not to mention that when I sometimes hold down to block, I still get hit anyway. Sort of defeats the purpose of blocking, doesn't it? You know what these controls remind me of, though? Karate Champ for the NES. Yeah, that turd fest. It had the same type of shitty, broken controls. But at least in that game, I could occasionally land a deliberate hit. In this game, though, it seems completely random. Worse yet, if you get too close to your opponent, you clinch and stop fighting. Also, leg sweeps can stop the game. And this seems to happen about every 5 fucking seconds or so. How exciting. It's a fighting game that hardly lets you fight. What a novel concept. Trying to land a hit on your opponent is sometimes really hard too. According to the manual, you have to wait for the correct moment and hit him with the correct attack. So I wait and try to hit him at the right moment, and I still miss. Or sometimes I hit him and he loses life and I don't have a clue how I did it. I try not to button mash. I try to be strategic and wait for the right moment to hit him. And it still doesn't work. Nothing works. So what am I missing here? Apparently my good sense, because I should have quit this fucking game long ago. Moving on to the gameplay, it's fucking horrendous! Do you want to know how bad it is? I'll tell you. I can't beat the first fucking guy! I'm serious! The first fucking guy, and I can't even beat him! That's never happened to me before. I tried everything, folks. Everything! I read through the manual twice. I played over 20 bouts of this game. I read game facts. I practiced and practiced and practiced, and I still can't get it! So either one of two things has happened. One, old age has caused my gaming skills to deteriorate to the point where I can't play fucking Pong anymore, let alone this game. Or two, this game is a fucking piece of shit that isn't worth pissing on, let alone playing. And with respect to myself, I'm going with option 2. I'm not that fucking old yet. I was so determined to beat one match that I even did this training mode. Which is yet another waste of fucking time. You hit these goddamn things repeatedly and supposedly you gain strength and reflexes and some shit like that. But it didn't make a goddamn bit of difference. Because I still got my ass kicked in the ring anyway. So I tried again and again, folks. And guess what? I still can't win one cocksucking match. Not one. Oh dear lord, I feel like shit right now. I feel like I'm playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and I lost against Glass Joe. Fucking Glass Joe. I mean, what the fuck, man? Did I just graduate from the Dark Side Phil School of Gaming? Oh, whatever. Like Fedora said in Last Crusade, you lost today, kid, but that doesn't mean you have to like it. And oh boy, I don't like it, brother, but I guess I can live with it. On a slightly more positive note, let me say that I do admire what I think they were trying to go for here. A realistic fighting game. No gravity-defying moves, no fantastic projectiles, no insane combos, no fatalities. Just down and dirty, real-life kickboxing. Okay, I can respect that. The problem is that just because it's realistic doesn't automatically mean that it's good. Or fun, for that matter. Take any number of older fighting games like Street Fighter II or Mortal Kombat. Yeah, they were unrealistic. But the controls and gameplay were solid enough that you could pick them up right away and at least win a few matches. Oh sure, the harder enemies would eventually beat you, and you'd have to practice more to get better. Despite that though, the game's always played fair with you. This one doesn't though. The controls and gameplay are so fucking broken here that you can't even try to play it. As for the music in the game, it's, middling at best. Here, listen. By the way, there's no music during the matches. Which doesn't really matter because the sound effects are fucking awful. Listen to this shit. He! What are you, a fucking donkey with a prolapsed rectum? Wump. Apparently we just entered a fucking comic book. Do these game designers even know what real human beings sound like? Oh, and I just love this one sound effect. Yup! It sounds like an Ewok getting a dick up its ass. Christ, it's pretty fucking funny. I don't think it was meant to be intentionally funny, but I found it funny nonetheless. When you get right down to it, this game is mistitled. It is not the best of the best, It is the worst of the worst! And I'd give this game a hard pass, unless you want to waste a few precious hours of your life. So in conclusion, there are other versions of Best of the Best for Super Nintendo, Genesis, Amiga, and other systems. And who knows, maybe some of them are better. I can't say for certain without actually playing them. But after traumatizing myself with this fucking abomination, I'm not exactly chomping at the bit to play any of the other ones. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm off to go play a better fighting game. Best of the Best for the NES is one of the worst fighting games I've ever played, and one of the worst I've reviewed. And as you'll recall, I couldn't even beat the first guy. Now later on, I did finally manage to beat him. But the whole experience left a bad taste in my mouth. Despite my reservations though, when I heard about the Super Nintendo version, I was hoping against hope that it might improve upon the dismal NES version. And did it? Ha 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 ha! It was such a terrific piece of gaming, as you can tell from the overwhelming enthusiasm in my voice. But seriously, no. This game is a pile of fucking garbage, just like its predecessor. And I'm looking forward to it about as much as I look forward to eating a Philly cheesesteak sandwich full of shit. So anyway, let's plow through this motherfucker. Best of the Best for the Super Nintendo. You would think that when this game made the leap to the Super Nintendo, the graphics would get a huge upgrade. You would think that. But one of the most disappointing things about this game is that it barely looks any better than its NES counterpart. I mean, look at this opening. Okay, the title screen does look a bit snazzier, especially with the guy doing some martial arts moves. But come on! It's still not that impressive, especially when compared to other games. Best is hardly the word I'd apply to this crap heap. Unless you consider it one of the best letdowns ever, then yeah, it's the best, alright. Later in the character select screen, though, the characters do look a lot more detailed. However, this is the only area where the graphics look truly improved from the original. And some of these character models just look odd. This one guy here looks like a young Sting. But you can customize him so he looks like a coked out Fremen Charlie Sheen. Or this goofy black guy. Or this fart knocker here. And this Song Po fella here looks like a retarded, roided out Macau. But the game designers saved the best letdown for the actual ring. Look at this crap. Really, it just screams uninspired. Okay, to be fair, they did add some small improvements. For example, they did add a referee who looks and speaks a little better. Whoop-de-shit! Give them a medal and shove it up their ass! And again, the fighters do look a little better defined on screen. But it's barely an improvement. It's like getting 2 birthday cakes made out of sawdust and aardvark semen. Only one cake has vanilla frosting on it and the other doesn't. What difference does it make? One is just slightly less crappier than the other one. Alright, to give the game a little bit of credit, the graphics do occasionally have some nice touches, like these camera flashes in the background. Oh yeah, and occasionally a person or two pops out. Yet some of the shitty graphics still remain, like the cosmic dandruff in the background that's supposed to be a crowd. Though now you can occasionally pick out something resembling a human being. And again, there's Dick Tracy. Oh yeah, and there's a bit of movement in the foreground. But hell, this game still looks as bland as the NES version. Hell, they may as well have slapped the NES graphics onto this game and called it a day. Because they blow big time, my friends. However, if you think the graphics are a letdown, you ain't seen nothing yet. The controls are the same fucking piss pile they were in the NES version. That's right. In fact, I could copy and paste my criticisms from the earlier review into this one. Because it's the same shitty control scheme. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You have to press one of the buttons and a direction to attack. Literally, it's the fucking same as the NES version. Okay, in the NES version, that was a bit more acceptable because the controller only had 2 main control buttons. Here, though, there's no excuse. The Super Nintendo controller had 6 buttons. 6! A, B, X, Y, and the L and R buttons. Don't tell me they didn't have enough fucking buttons for this game. This was the perfect opportunity for the game designers to revamp the control scheme and make it more user-friendly. Assign a high, low, and mid-range attack for each button. But oh no, they fucking couldn't do that, the cunts! You know something, fellas? I'll tell you, I think the controls actually feel even laggier and worse in this version. How? You're not supposed to fail upwards, fellas. You're supposed to do better. Why even bother porting this game onto a superior system if you couldn't improve it? I guess fuck up, fail up is their motto. Which brings me to the gameplay. Same shit, different day. No better options, no improvements. They imported every worthless part of the original into this game. The training that doesn't work, the boring stat screens, the worthless move lists. I really honestly can't understand why they put this game onto the Super Nintendo if they weren't going to make a token attempt to try and improve it. Or maybe I do understand the reason. And it all comes down to one word. Money! The almighty fucking dollar! Why sell a game once when you can sell it twice and make more buckos? Really, that's about the only reason I can see for them remaking this turd fest. It's like Hollywood's degenerate habit of making shitty, half-ass remakes to far superior films. Dust off some old property, give it a fresh coat of paint, and whammo! You made yourself another $500 million from raping the past. Only in this case, it's the worst of both worlds. Because not only did they have a shitty game to begin with, they made it even worse. And as if all that isn't enough, I swear this game is even more berserk and unpredictable than the original. And how, you might ask? Sometimes I won. Only have no fucking clue how I did it. In some matches, I can't win to save my life. And in others, I kick my opponent's ass. What the fuck? What did I do? Did I land some magic blow at the right moment? Or is this game so poorly programmed that my opponents spontaneously pass out in the ring? Actually, if you think about it, I didn't win. You don't win a game like this. As War Games aptly said, the only winning move is not to play. And by playing, I already lost. Consider it a Pyrrhic victory. As for the music, are you surprised to hear that it sucks a fat one too? Of course you aren't. I'd play it for you, but I think you'd be better served listening to penguin queefs for 3 hours straight. So I'll just spare you the trouble. Finally, you may be wondering how this game stacks up next to the Genesis version. Well, it stacks up like a Jenga game in an 8.0 earthquake. In other words, it's a clusterfuck. I don't have to review it because it's pretty much the same train wreck the other two games are. You know, at this rate, I wonder how many more times it would take these boneheads to get it right. What, would they have to port this game onto the Sega CD to make it better? Or the Atari Jaguar? Or hell, the PS1 or the Dreamcast or the N64? No, I get the feeling they'd still blow it even if they ported it to the fucking PS5. So in conclusion, no matter what system you're playing on, your best bet is to avoid this game. No pun intended. With so many other fighting games out there, I'm sure you can find something better than this shit show.